The voice of sharing, 突然那想。
ASEAN Breakfast Call. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Good morning.
Hi.
Hello, this is Grace.
This is Gowri.
Welcome to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. So how are you, Gowri, today?
I am very sleepy actually because I stayed up very late to watch a game last night as well.
What did you watch?
Well, it was Liverpool versus Man United, and sadly for me, Man United won 3-0, so I just couldn't sleep the whole night. I was up.
You were up the whole night?
Just being all upset about it. What about you? How are you doing today?
Well, I think I'm really good. I went to see a Portuguese dance yesterday at the Publica, and then it was very interesting and very cute. And actually, Alin and I, we went together, and we managed to dance along with the troops, and then it was very interesting.
That sounds fun.
It was actually fun. It was fun, and then we had a lot of well, it was something that we cannot see all the time. Yeah, all those Portuguese descent culture side, and then it was a very good chance for us to open our eyes to the new culture.
Because as Malaysians, we are always so attuned to just having Malay, Indian, Chinese, and we tend to forget about the other people.
Yeah.
So it's good that there are events like this happening every now and then for people to go, and it widens their horizons, widens your perception about the communities that we have in Malaysia.
And also, actually, I stayed at the Public the whole day yesterday, since like 12 p.m. and until like 10 p.m. Well, the reason because I had a few meetings, but apart from that, well, there were a lot of things happening in the Publica, like they had a like small flea market, and then they also had a like performance site at the B, and it was all targeted for Malay crowd. It was very interesting, and after that we went for the dance culture event at the Black Box. So it was pretty fruitful day for me.
Well, if only that place was accessible by train, it will be a lot easier for more people to go there, I think, because it is a very, very happening, very vibrant art scene happening there.
Yeah, definitely. And then, Gowri, have you been following about the Korean airline?
Yes, I have.
And then what's your opinion in this? So since I'm a Korean, I have a lot of things to say, but how about you?
Well, the way I see it is, of course, it's a very rich, privileged girl causing up a scene. So maybe you should explain further.
Well, I should explain
enlighten
further.
us.
Well, basically, we do know what happened to this lady. She was not really pleased with the crew members served different nuts when she actually asked from academia, and then she was very vocal about it, and now she did resign from her position, and she's actually a first daughter of a Korean airline. And Korean airline is actually a family company in Korea, but we call it Jaebel. Jaebel is the very, very, very rich.
Okay.
Yeah, so very wealthy family, and a lot of people have been saying that she's spoiled kid, and then that just because you are rich doesn't mean that you can look down on people and just come on and demand for whatever you want.
And inconveniencing everyone else at that, everyone
Yeah.
else who was on the plane.
And in fact, the flight was delayed because of her. Yeah. Well, moving to Malaysia. What's happening in Malaysia was Occupy remains peaceful despite losing tents.
So what happened is, we know that a group of students from were camping out in the university last week in line with the charges that were imposed on them, and they were not happy with the charges because they didn't feel like they did anything wrong, and they've been camping there for nearly 5 days now, but there's still no response from the authorities. So they have decided that tomorrow they are actually going to march towards the students' department and demand for an answer.
So, Gowri, are you part of this as well?
I am not part of this, but well, being a student in does kind of affect me in a way to see all this happening in the university. And in one way, it's good to see the students standing up for what they believe in. But in another side, it's also getting quite controversial because the police came and tore down the tents. And a lot of politicians have visited them, and they are trying to do it as peaceful as possible. So tomorrow, they are actually going to do something about it.
And also, actually, the students have been attending their classes regularly as well. And then they also said they would love to take these turns being at the side of a site and going to the class. So students, please don't miss your class. And then what's happening here is also, according to Khairul Najib, also said that the city hall removed their tents on just a few days ago, but the students stayed to put by sleeping on mats instead.
They are not moving. I actually saw the video. Although the tents were removed, the authorities were there. They just wanted to stay put. Like, we just want an answer to all the charges that's been posed on us because we don't agree with it. So, and this is just a peaceful demonstration. They are not getting all violent or aggressive. So they seem pretty sure about what they want, and they are going to go and get it.
Yep, and then also legal team, it was been advising the 8 students from UM said that it will be filing for a judicial review if charges against the remaining 7 students were not dropped. So hopefully we hear the more positive news from this student movement from UM.
Yes, and wish them all the best in
all the best indeed.
heading to the students department.
Yes, and then again it's about Malaysia, and what's happening is foreign visitors to Malaysia must now have a return flight ticket. Actually, it's not something new, to be honest, Gowri.
And what's interesting about this is it actually makes it a little inconvenient for people, because sometimes when they come to Malaysia, a lot of people tend to love Malaysia so much that they just want to stay on. And I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying.
Yes. But then I have a different opinion in this because it is just to make sure that when foreigners do come to Malaysia, they have a legal visit rather than staying here illegally for certain period of time. And then I'm sure there have been a lot of cases for illegal workers to come here and without issuing the working visa or any types of visa to stay in Malaysia.
And I guess it's also to make sure that they do have enough money to sustain themselves while they are here. And this is something that's also been practiced in a lot of different countries as well, where when you enter the country, they want to know where you're staying, who you're going to be with, and how much cash you're carrying with you. And I guess before this, Malaysia has been quite lagging in these terms, that we don't care too much, as long as people come in and boost our economy. But like you mentioned, it has been impacting us, especially with people who just stay on illegally after their visa has expired and they don't have the money to go and renew it, or they just don't know how to do it. And eventually we just have this huge influx of illegal immigrant workers in Malaysia.
Yes, all those workers, unless they are coming under a certain company, the companies pay for their visa and so on, then it's good for them and that they can actually stay in Malaysia. But however, quite a large number of populations in terms of migrant workers in Malaysia, they've been staying here illegally without any permit visa to stay. So that's when the Malaysian government has acknowledged and made it compulsory for all foreigners visitors to have a return ticket or flight out of the country in a bit to stem the number of illegal immigrants.
Yes, this move is to actually support their whole plan to be free, for Malaysia to be free of illegal immigrants by 2020. And whether we can be completely free or not, of course, that is another different question altogether, because we have 2.5 million illegal immigrants in the country. That's a huge number. And 2020 is about I would say 6 years, but it's already 2015 next month, so you probably have about 5 years to tackle this issue, and it can be a little tricky.
And also not only by flight, visiting Malaysia, it could also apply to visitors arriving by bus, train, or ship as well. And then Mr. Wan, who is the Deputy Home Minister, said that the workers generally arrive by plane for sure, but not through the port or train. But anyways, the principle of having a return ticket and the money to sustain oneself in the country should apply. And in my personal opinion, it's actually pretty fair treatment to all those foreign workers.
But just because they are going to have a return ticket doesn't guarantee that they're actually going to leave the country, because they can just buy a return ticket and still stay on anyway if they want to, if that is already their objective. that I'm gonna just go to Malaysia and stay on.
But with the new system, they could have implemented, like, let's say you have the return ticket from a certain country. They could have actually registered on the system in the computer. It could be computerized. So certain, if you exceed that date, they could actually call you or report to the police or report to the immigration.
And hopefully it works that way because right now we do have an influx of migrant workers. So hopefully this will help to cut that down.
Yep. And then moving on to next one, it's still in Malaysia. We are still staying in the Malaysian news, which is Sharia law is not divine law. According to the government, it should not be treated as such, just one of the religious law, and one of the SIS, Sisters in Islam, her name is Director Ratna Osman. She said that there was a misunderstanding of the law and then also federal constitution among certain quarters who are pushing for Sharia courts to be on the same level with the federal court.
I think the biggest problem with this is that the Sharia law is being treated as a divine law, and they are saying that no, it's not a divine law. Divine law is something that just probably came down from God and just stayed there. But in this case, there has already been human intervention. You know, people are the ones who are enforcing this, who are getting involved in this. So when there are already people involved and trying to tweak it, how can it still be divine? It's already been amended in a way.
Yes, and then we also talked about how Sharia law actually would become one of the constitutional law in Malaysia as well. In addition to that, she said the view that Sharia law was divine law was problematic. And also, it's like you mentioned, it's actually human intervention of what God's divine laws are. But then when there is a human intervention, it's not 100% divine anymore, of course. And also, the group, SIS, also says that their version, the interpretation of Sharia is actually from God.
Well, it is, but then again, Islamic law has changed, is always changing, and will continue to change, according to University of British Columbia, Dr. Rumi Ahmed, and said the laws have never actually been set in stone, which is true, because a lot of this, whether it's Islamic law or whatever law that we have right now, has all been passed down through thousands of years, started with the oldest civilizations, and it's always constantly changing to adapt to society, to adapt to different lives. There are certain laws that we never had 100 years ago, which we have now because it's relevant. So to take just one set of laws and say that this is the accurate one, that this is the one that everyone has to follow, it's not really very reasonable in that sense.
Well, it's not reasonable, but how about the law itself? When you think about law, Gowri, isn't it also correct to say that laws are man-made from the first start anyways? And then when it comes to Sharia law, a lot of people did follow when it comes to the Quran and then Sharia law itself. But in fact, like you said, with a lot of environments, it has adapted to a lot of changes. And then where is the fine line between the religion and actually the civil law itself?
I think the fine line is very, very hard to trace, which is why Sisters in Islam is suggesting that we just go back to the history of Malaysia and go back to what's written in the constitution. That's what everyone is familiar with. That's the legal system that's been agreed by all the lawmakers in Malaysia. So why don't we just stick to that instead, and instead of trying to make things complicated? Because of course, we have different races and religion in the country, and we have also a different sets of law. But these tend to confuse people after a certain period of time. Like, okay, which is the real law? Which is the real deal? Which one am I following, or which one will I be charged under if I did something wrong? So probably it's best to go back to what's in our constitution and use that for everybody in the country.
Well, a constitution is actually supreme law in this nation anyway. So whatever it comes to a long way, it's right to follow the constitution law first. But Malaysia is also heavily Islamic country where Sharia law is also very significant. So there is actually a confusion between these two laws. But let's just give it a break in our nation for a while, and then let's travel to Thailand.
Let's go to Thailand.
Yes, it's very scandalous, and the Thai prince divorced his wife.
Yes, there of course it's been all over the news last week that they've separated and he stripped her of her royal status, and it was just confirmed yesterday that their divorce is final, and her name is Sri Rasmi, and she is not sorry.
In fact, and they've been actually married for about 13 years, and with all the scandalous news going around, they finally announced that they are divorced. And also the rare public airing of the palace intrigue comes after the string of the princess's relatives were arrested in a high-profile corruption scandal that has sent shockwaves through the Thailand's elites.
And Sri Rasmi actually married the crown prince back in 2001. Like you mentioned, they have been married for 13 years. And this announcement actually affects Thailand a lot. It definitely, in spite of what's happening right now with the Thai junta, with General Prayut Chan-o-cha, and now this will probably add a greater sense of uncertainty and anxiety among the people in Thailand, and also among people outside other countries. If we were to look at Thailand right now, and we see just so many scandalous things happening, and we're not certain about the system and if if they know what they're doing in the first place.
And in fact, it's not just any scandals, it's the scandals that happen in Thailand and the prince and princess. That 62-year-old crown prince, his split from his wife will deepen the fears for the monarchy future as Thailand's 87-year-old king, Bhumibol Adul Yadej, enters the twilight of his reign.
And apart from that, he has also, of course, taken in a new wife or to-be wife, and he also said that Sri Rasmi actually gave him a written document taking back her royal status, but it was also reported in other news that he actually stripped her of the royal status, and it gets only more complicated than that. I think if we want to learn more about the scandal that's happening in Thailand, it's best to read the books by Andrew McGregor Marshall, who is
You're actually very good promoter.
Well, he has done some extensive research on Thai politics, so in order to really understand what's happening, it's probably best to start with him.
Actually, the way how he delivers the messages are very interesting and easy to understand. So you're right, when it comes to politics of regarding the Thai country itself, you should go and look for his books.
And the princess was actually last seen in public on December 6th. And since then, it's said that she has retreated to a temple to resort to meditation because there's pretty much nothing else for her to do.
And also, it is quite interesting fact to know that the Thai monarchy is protected by some of the world's strictest, least majestic laws. Both local and international media must heavily self-censor when covering the country's royal family. And in fact, this is something really huge in Thailand because it can't be even censored because it's already happened.
And now they have this royal scandal, and they have their own election scandal. They have the Thai junta taking over when they want democracy. So it seems that Thailand has a lot of things happening there, and these issues need to be resolved as soon as possible because we are heading into 2015 very soon.
In fact, a lot of things are happening. Let's just move to travel to other country, which is Myanmar. Myanmar's landless playthings of the powerful. What is this news about, Gowri?
Why are you asking me like that? Well, land grabbing is actually an issue among the CLMV countries in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar. So today we will actually be focusing on Myanmar because we focused on the other countries last week. And it seems that a lot of people are left destitute after the army said they were squatting, and hundreds of families are suffering from this post-war or tug-of-war syndrome, and they, on one side there's this ethnic group case happening, on one side people are starting to take up arms against each other, and this group of people are just frightened, and they are stuck in the middle, and they have nowhere to go.
And the land is among the most contentious issues in Myanmar, and as reforms and also at the end of the most Western sanctions fuel a scramble for territory in the resource-rich nations.
Sorry. Of
Go on.
course, a commission has been set up to deal with these people, trying to help them, but so far they've only managed to resolve a very small fraction of the tens of thousands of people who are affected by this. And also, it seems that so many of them are actually sandwiched, like I mentioned earlier, between Myanmar's powerful forces. They're stuck in between two extreme groups, from the military, the clergy, the political heavyweights, and the armed ethnic groups, and they just have nowhere to go, and they're just scared and they're stuck in one place.
And also, in fact, the farmers barge through the barricades to pillage their former field, displace the villagers, confront the business, and also a lot of towns and cities in rallies that flare across. So what's happening here is they're landless and they're homeless, and that they feel very helpless.
And they're scared.
They're scared
very
for sure.
scared.
And Myanmar seems to have a lot of human rights issues in this country, and not only regarding the Rohingya, but then it comes with another issue, which is landless people.
And it seems that some of them have been taken into a small new village, and there are plans to set up a factory for them and to provide them with some government loans and also some other basic amenities. But they are quite skeptical about these promises that were made to them. And the government is actually drawing up a new land use policy, and this is actually part of the reform. Because they are, of course, trying to break away from the military rule. But how successful will this be, and how fast they're going to act on it, of course, we don't know yet. But what we do know is that 70% of Myanmar's population actually rely on land for their living.
Yeah, and then also in addition to that, there are plans for the factory, promises of government loans, and the new village hall, which are actually recently completed in the country. And also, this during controversial 2010 elections, USDP was accused of various vote-winning tactics, including half-building roads and promising to finish the work only after they were elected.
And of course, everyone was already there before there was the party, so it seems that they have to deal with a lot of these mainly poverty issues that's happening, and also people who rely on land for their living to sustain themselves. And they are, of course, drawing up a new land policy, and hopefully that will help to serve the people better.
Yeah, and in fact, the population is getting larger and larger, so definitely the government has to take this into consideration. And also, not to forget, the researchers at the Transnational Institute think tank, they actually have warned that the proposals look to please large investors, potentially to the oldest detrimental of these issues as well to small farmers as well.
And land appropriation remains a chronic problem in Myanmar, it seems.
So hopefully something will will come up for them to help out all those landless people in Myanmar. And then this comes to our last news, which is PX exporters hit ASEAN trade barriers. So some members of the ASEAN are putting up non-tariff barriers to discourage the entry of Philippine exporters and insulate their domestic industries from increasing competition in the region.
And these moves actually go against the agreements that has been laid out by ASEAN, because ASEAN has been trying to, of course, increase the trade in between countries. But with most of the tariffs already down to zero, ASEAN has actually essentially become a free trade area, except for these non-tariff measures that are reportedly being implemented by some countries. But it doesn't say here which countries have been doing it, but Philippines are just kind of lodging a complaint that some countries are making it difficult for them to go in and to set up their businesses there.
Well, with this, definitely there will be issues, a lot of issues regarding all those trading and also investment. And then, according to Phil Expert Quarter Trade Assistant Secretary was saying that the Department of Trade Industry was looking at whether the country's neighbors were complying with their commitments after it got wind of these non-tariff measures, which is also called NTMs, that other countries have allegedly established.
And Philippines, for its part, has already complied with its commitments in the area of trade in goods since 2010. And it seems that most of their product lines have been eliminated except for the basics like rice, and the duties for which will be cut from 35% to 40%. And the forthcoming establishment of the AEC, of course, this has to go back to what's happening with AEC and what's going on in there, and to know that some countries are not following the law or trying to make it difficult for another country. Of course, this is not something that we want to hear, and especially we have like less than a month to 2015 and to start our journey towards AEC.
Yes, that's correct. And also, Philippine tariffs on most product lines have been eliminated, except for rice and the duties for which will be cut to 35% from 40%, and for sugar, which will be cut to 5% in 2015. And also other products that still have duties are like live chickens and swine, meat of chicken, and also all those agriculture the products that we see. And also the forthcoming establishment of AEC is expected to transform the 10-member state of the ASEAN, which includes Philippines, into single market and production base. In fact, very short while for ABC Focus, we'll be talking about TPPA.
Yes, we will.
So let's go for the further discussion later on. So that's the end of our news commentary. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. And
don't forget to download our TuneIn app and find us at Rian ASEAN.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and also follow us on Instagram.
And we'll be back.